Hi everyone, I'm Zhiwei. Today I will present our work of dynamic subgraph learning for patch-based cortical folding classification. As we can see in the figure below, since there are salient differences in thickness between the sulci and the gyri of the cortical ribbon, gyral and the sulcal mapping techniques are helpful to diagnose the Alzheimer disease. The mapping aims to accurately map different regions of the human brain between different surface patches. And as expected, this field of research involves shape analysis and neural image processing. There are two main challenges of this mapping task. First is how to represent a shape. To handle the surface patch data effectively, we take the surface match data and input it as a set of separate vertices. Also, there are three basic types of anatomical patterns for the precuneus patch of the human brain, as shown in the figure on the right. The second challenge is to understand the folding pattern automatically using programs. Existing works usually include two categories. In the early stage, voxel-based methods learn the geometrical distribution of shapes by applying voxelization and 3D convolutional neural networks. However, since it fixes the data into voxels, the details of the shape data can get lost in the voxelization process. Nowadays, with the advance of GCN, graph-based methods are proposed. They construct a global graph based on vertices and learn the geometrical features by node feature propagation. However, the propagation inside the fixed global graph can cause the over-smoothing problem as the layer of the network goes deeper. As shown in this figure, for conventional methods, the cortical mapping is unstable when two patches are geometrically unsimilar, and the process is time-consuming to find the best geometric match for a cortical surface. So we argue that a deep learning-based classification network can help us to identify the geometrically similar patches in the dataset and help the gyral and sulcal mapping. Thus, in this paper, we propose a dynamically updated subgraph-based approach. The main contributions include two aspects. First is we construct a patch-based deep learning shape analysis model to understand different patterns of precuneus patches. The second is that we propose a dynamically update subgraph to capture better local features and overcome the over-smoothing problem caused by GCN. The overview of our model is shown on this figure. For each input surface patch, we first align the index of the vertices of the patch through our modes. Then the patch is fed into the concatenated subgraph encoders. Finally, the learned features from the last encoder are gathered and fed into the classifier for label prediction. We first introduce the data preprocessing part. Before feeding the data to the geometrical learning module, we first exploited RMOS technique on input surfaces to generate similar vertex indexings. Specifically, as shown in the figures and tables, we randomly choose a surface patch and map all other surfaces onto it to generate a similar order of vertices. And the distances between source vertices and target vertices are optimized by Romania metric. Now we introduce the subgraph-based encoder. The encoder part includes 3 subgraph propagation neural networks, and their structures are identical. And each of them introduces subgraph construction and feature propagation modules. Unlike naive GCN, in each subgraph propagation module, we construct the neighborhood dynamically and update the node feature within the subgraphs that were constructed inside the neighborhood. For neighborhood and the subgraph construction, we firstly use a k-nearest neighbor algorithm with k equals 8 to find the closest nodes of each vertex. And inside this neighborhood, we then apply a smaller KNN with k equals 4 to construct different subgraphs for feature propagation. The neighborhoods and the subgraphs are constructed differently in each geometrical encoder. This dynamic construction of the graphs gathers the nodes with similar features together and enhances the node's feature by further propagation. As shown in the first equation, after the graph construction, the node features are propagated inside each subgraph. After the propagation, we read out each subgraph's feature through 3 different pooling layers: max pooling, average pooling, and summation pooling. And these summary features will be fed into the next stage of the encoder. In this way, the propagation of the node features can better capture the local features of the surface, since the propagation process is limited inside these smaller graphs. Finally, the encoded features of vertices are fed into an MLP for label prediction and loss calculation to train the model in an end-to-end manner. Now I will introduce the experiments. We conduct experiments on 2 widely used datasets, ADNI3 and Hable. As shown below, we firstly select and label 980 subjects inside these 2 datasets, which can be categorized into the 3 anatomical patterns shown before. And then we divided them into 5 subsets and apply a 5-fold cross-validation scheme in the network training process. This shows the comparisons between our proposed approach with 5 other state-of-the-art geometrical learning methods. The last row shows the results of our proposed approach. We can see that our approach outperforms all other methods, which verify the effectiveness of our proposed approach. As the figure below, we also found the best size of the neighborhood construction. With larger size of the neighborhood, the encoder takes a larger field of sense, and the performance declines more. This verifies that the local features are critical to the accurate classification in this task. Here I show the energy maps that are calculated by the last encoder. We found that the gyral regions are concentrated since it carries the most discriminative information, while the gyral regions that is circled by the red lines is suppressed, since they are commonly shared by the most patches, which means they carry little information for improving the classification performance. This verifies that our model enhances the critical information and suppresses the unrelated information for better performance. On the right figure, I show some misclassified examples. And red circles indicate that these regions contain some ambiguous shapes for classification, and thus they are misclassified. In conclusion, in this paper, we propose a subgraph-based approach for brain patch classification on a large-scale dataset. It exploits local geometrical features of brain surfaces and distinguishes the minor differences between folding patterns by dynamically constructing the graph structures. And for future work, on one hand, we are trying to explore the folding pattern analysis of other regions of the human brain. On the other hand, we want to apply some weak supervised or unsupervised methods to apply this method to some more diverse datasets. That's all. Thank you.